G'day YouTube, Warbles and a lot here. 10 minutes to 2 on the Tuesday. Going to town partly because it's such a almost blue sky day and we should be able to get pretty good video. Although for that I should have left 2 hours ago. But you know, the best laid plans of mice and men are effing gang agley, as they say. And because I used this camera mount with a different angulation, I'm only sort of moderately confident that it's pointed in the right way. Hopefully it is, but I have spent 4 different attempts to reset it. For Earl-Knevel mode. And today's little trip to town is more or less spontaneously brought on because my daughter asked me if I could pump up the tyre on her motor car. And it turned out my air compressor's hose has got a faulty fitting at the valve end. And it doesn't matter how good your air compressor is, if you've got a shit house hose connection, it's not an air compressor at all, is it? So therefore, off to town we go. And the recent rain did not improve the road, at least that bit of it, but visor down compared to some of the other roads I have ridden on, that's pretty easy. Bit too much milkiness in the sky for my liking as a cinematographer, but you know, you can't have everything. And yeah, I find about 30 k's fairly reasonable speed. For dirt roads. 40 k's is about your best economical range speed, and it's pretty good on secondary bitumen roads and around town. On the highway, going at 45 kilometres an hour gets you off the bloody highway 12.5% faster, but it uses 17.5% more current than if you were only doing 40. So it all becomes very much a balancing act. How badly do you want to get off the highway? How far do you want to go? How fast can you afford to go without risking running out of juice and getting stuck on the side of the road? Must say I do enjoy having the wing mirrors out on the end of the handlebar. Means anybody who is coming up behind me, they get to see the wing mirror marking the very edge of where the handlebar is. It's sort of more or less bound to be brighter and more visually unmissable than anything short of a bloody multicoloured flag like they used to sell for kids to poke in their handlebar extreme ends when I was a kid. All very gay and festive, sporty, yeah, still. Eventually you get used to the sound of the gearbox, but that sort of changes with the wind speed, direction and the slope as to how much strain is on the teeth, I suppose, as to what sort of noise they make. And then you're going to get different noises again depending on the battery voltage as to how many amps the speed controller wants to put through, and it makes slightly different humming, growling noises too. So far I think the best I've done is to do a 33 kilometre trip to town and go back to the hut and still have 56% of the battery remaining. Other times I think I've gone back there with as low as 48 or 49%, but that's usually when I've been hitting the throttle very hard. Particularly in the early stages, it's a lot like the electric brush cutter. You start out treating it like a petrol machine, and that means liberal use of full throttle. And then gradually you wake up to yourself. And that might save 2/3 of the current you would otherwise have used. These narrows here I ride as fast as I bloody can, 49 kilometres an hour right now. And then I come back to 45. And ride pretty close to the bloody fog line, but not necessarily on it or over it unless I friggin' have to. This is kind of the worst part of the trip because it's 500 metres of narrow guardrail. You can't ride on the bloody white fog line because otherwise your handlebars will be only 4 inches, 100 millimetres away from the guardrail. So you have to ride as close as you can to the white line and rely on overtaking traffic to make maximum use of the divided centre line. And if somebody is coming up behind me, then yes, I do get over there. And more or less for the rest of the trip, except where there's a pretty good reason, I'm out over here. And as I said, try and maintain 45 kilometres an hour as the fastest practical economic speed. And a measure of success can be judged by whether you can still do 45 kilometres an hour when you get back to Yarraford Road to get off the highway. Because if you spend too much time on the high side of 45, you won't be able to maintain it all the way back to the secondary bitumen road. It's a very intense, slow way to get to town. On a sunny day when there's not too much wind and not much traffic, it's pretty bloody good fun actually. And this little short bridge, when there's no one coming behind you, you might as well just enjoy it at the same usual pace. No point burning extra current to go over at 3 kilometres an hour faster because it's not really long enough. But it's certainly a bike to ride on the rear vision mirror. Roadworkers. That's how much warning I get when someone's coming in the rear vision mirror. I'm almost bloody tempted to go home, you know. Rather than take the bike out on fresh bitumen. I've done nearly 750 kilometres on it, and it's nearly 250k since I washed it. I'm not going to take the bloody thing out onto freshly sprayed, hot, sticky, wet bitumen. Not when I really don't actually totally bloody well need either the Evel-Knievel trousers or that compressor line. At least I don't think so. I'm really hoping I won't need it for some other purpose, and if I do, well, stuff it, I have got a hand pump. I'm just not interested in seeing how hard it is to get bitumen off the speed controller, which is behind the front wheel. Tomorrow when I was going to town for bread and milk, yeah, there's a perks in that. But today was just going out for a bit of an enjoyable ride. One of the benefits of being the fool on the hill is there is no fixed schedule. Apart from turn up to the bloody cancer centre for the regular 6 monthly checks at this stage. Still doing 48 Ks, 12 kilometres away from starting out, 87% battery capacity remaining. Up here. Didn't touch the brake, that's just regenerative braking. Great stuff, isn't it? Apparently the Tesla Cybertruck's a bit the same. And I suppose if I was to dial my regenerative braking up to level 4 from 3.5, which is at the moment, then this would be even more marked, and I think I might do that. And it's been absolutely bloody remarkable how many horror stories I've seen show up in the YouTube feed about the Tesla. It's apparently quite a problem-ridden bit of gear. It'll take chunks of skin off you in multiple different ways. It leaks, it rusts. It's either really, really bad off-road, or you just didn't pay the extra $2,000 or $5,000 for the off-road software update. I don't think I've seen anybody who's had one and used it for any length of time who seems to be happy with it. Come up and pass me. The reason they didn't pass me is because it was my next door neighbour who lived at the previous property. Very difficult to tell from the radiator grille and sort of set of headlights in the rear vision mirror. not really used to the idea of a silent motorbike. Yeah, well that was an interesting idea, go for a ride to town and decide to stop because they were spraying bitumen on the road. But it's, at the moment, slightly too new and shiny for me to want to put it through hot bitumen spray mix. Neighbour's wheel ruts are almost like tram lines back there. It is quite the driveway, is it not? Okay. Well, rather than bore you stupid. And yes, I opened the gate all the way because that path is smoother than that path. And that one being slightly lower and more water going downhill over it, eroding away the fill more rapidly. So 16 kilometres from gate to gate. 80% of the battery remaining. So that's sort of from my place to the other end of the Glenden's main street, because it's 15 from my place, there from the hut to the post office. Right, 80%. 739 kilometres, 28 minutes. Average speed 36, maximum speed 49. Yeah, 48 watt-hours per kilometre. Right. Not quite as productive a use of the electricities as I had hoped, but on the bright side, Warbles-eKnevil does in fact need more time in the logbook before I go and ask them to test me for my provisional licence to get off the L plates. And therefore, today was worthwhile, burning less than a litre in the event. Warbles, I'd like to YouTube. You have a good one.
Ciao.